A Leytonstone morning, swaddled in frost, but a beautiful bit of light. So a perfect morning for a wander over the marshes. I've just had a bacon roll, which is fantastic, from Red Tomato near Leyton Midland Road Station. But I feel like I really need a coffee before I take on the marshes. Just trying to work out the best place to get coffee down this end of Leyton near Leabridge Road. Very important. Look, Percy Ingles. This is, I think, the HQ of the magnificent Percy Ingles, a real East London institution. What's the difference between Aldi and Lidl? Is it basically the same thing? I know I'm showing my ignorance of budget German supermarkets. Building of a controversial new housing development here down the end of Leabridge Road near the station. This is a great little building, isn't it? Looks like a throwback to former times. So rather than go straight down Leabridge Road and then turn off onto Leyton Marshes, I'm going to go through the industrial estate here and then over a footbridge into the marshes, which is a wonderful way to go onto the marshes. And also it goes via a place that apparently sells good coffee. I'll have to see about that. So this is the kind of trendy cafe I was hoping to get a nice coffee in, but despite being advertised as open on the internet, it is shut. It's a bit of a downer. That's the Lighthouse Cafe over there, which led me astray with its opening hours. I got my coffee in the end from the kind of more traditional old greasy spoon cafe back there, the Avenue Cafe. Who needs the hipster coffee places? Now, to find this bridge over to the marshes. You know, some of those dockless hire bikes that are popping up now all over London. Here in Waltham Forest, they're operated by a company called Urbo, and it's just an app you have on your phone. And then I think you just come up here and scan the bike and it unlocks it. I don't know, something like that anyway. And here is the footbridge. I think this is the River Lea flood relief channel. And the glorious Lea Valley pylons. This horse has just made its way over, possibly thinking I've got food for it, but I'm not sure this kind of packet croissant is really suitable for horses. Sorry, Mr. Horse, or Ms. Horse. Wow, it's literally kicking off over there. Looks like they've made up. Taking a little bit of a liberty, saying welcome to Walthamstow Marshes, when in fact Walthamstow Marshes is up there and we are here. It's another example of how Walthamstow getting a bit uppity. Joking. So we're gonna, I don't know the best way to go. I think what we should do, how about we go down here along to the river, so you see the river, And we'll then cut across the Lammas meadow and then Walthamstow Marshes. How about that? Does that sound like a plan? Rather than just stay away from the river. And the bomb crater. There it is. Remember that. Sandy Lane, bomb crater. This must be one of the most requested videos. People are all saying, why don't you make a video about the marshes? And I walk over here quite frequently. And every time I think, I must make a video about the marshes. I feel winter's a really good time to come onto the marshes. Like the light over here, the winter light. This part here is Leyton Marshes. And that distinction would have been quite important once upon a time. I did a beating of the boundaries here, which is an old tradition to show the people, the young people particularly of the parish, where their boundaries were. And that line of trees over there, I believe, is the old parish boundary. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. And the right to access on this land is something that we should never take for granted, because it's been fought for in the past. The Marshlands Defence Committee, it was formed, I think, in the late 1890s to protect this from, I think it was the East London Waterworks. And then, again, just before the London Olympics, and the beating of the bounds I did here was with the new Marshlands Defence Committee. And of course, people came out here to protect it during the Olympics, when I think the American basketball team had a practice court somewhere over here. I was giving my sister directions at the weekend on the phone, and she was walking from Tottenham over to Leytonstone. And I said, you must cross the bridge, Kathy, when you get to Springfield Park. You must cross from Middlesex into Essex, from English law to the Danelaw. And surprisingly, she did find her way to the Red Lion, so obviously that kind of works as a direction. So I think this row of trees here on the left is the edge of Leyton Marshes. This is the parish boundary. Again, I could well be wrong. And then on the other side is Walthamstow. And here we have the blessed River Lea. So here we have a cattle grid, or I think it's here as a cattle grid anyway, rather than to stop vehicles. And I believe I heard that they were going to reintroduce grazing cattle onto the marshes. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Just out here is a little pond we call the Bomb Crater Pond, and that was formed when a V-2 rocket landed here during the Second World War. So it was in this railway arch that AV Row constructed the first British built and powered aeroplane in 1909. It was a triplane, and they took it out onto the marshes and flew it. And in typically British understated style, I think it was described as more of a hop, a skip and a crash than a flight. Even so, it kind of was a landmark. And it happened in here. I also came to this arch with the brilliant Hackney Tree Muskateers when I joined them for a wassailing of the fruit trees, which I wrote about in my book, This Other London. And I made a little recording of them singing the Wassail song in this archway here. So I'll insert a little bit of that here now.
And we wish you, send you a happy new year.
blossom, bud and bloom and bear, so we may have plenty. And now across Walthamstow Marshes Nature Reserve. Parts of it's still frozen even though it's like 11 o'clock. So here we have some dung, which could be an interesting indicator. So this used to be Lammas grazing land. I think I always struggle to remember the dates. It basically was a period of time when local people could put their cattle and their horses and whatever their animals out to graze on kind of common land. I think it's from the 1st of August until March, and that was obviously was a great resource for local people. And this was the Lammas land here. I heard that they were reintroducing grazing stock because it's a really good way of managing the land. And this landscape, although we might look at it as a kind of very natural landscape, it's been shaped by human interaction over thousands of years. So the way the animals would fertilise the ground through their manure, and then the way they would stomp on the ground and compact it, and they would spread seeds around, and that has really sort of defined the shape of this land. You can say people have been using this land for grazing and habitation for thousands of years. So it's interesting that they've reintroduced grazing livestock onto it, although I can't see any. I can see their droppings unless that's incredibly big dogs, but so I don't know, maybe we'll see some cattle around somewhere. Here's a sign here about the cattle on the marsh. 7 belted Galloways. I couldn't see them out there, just the extensive amount of manure that they've left behind. So this is Coppermill Fields. We'll take this path now back to Leyton to sort of complete a loop of the marshes. Some wisdom under the railway bridge here. What is this life if full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. Lovely murals here in the underpass, showing the grazing cattle and the Lammas meadow. So it's the 19th of December today, so we're coming up to the winter solstice. I love this time of year. There's something really magical about it. The darkest time of the year. And then we know it's leading us back towards the summer, towards the rebirth, the regrowth. It just cuts through all the digital noise, the hustle and bustle of modern life. You can't ignore the place of our little planet in the solar system and its movement around the sun. Well, I hope you have a great midwinter feasting season. Whatever it is you do, whoever it is you celebrate, if you celebrate at all, have a good one. Enjoy it.